I want to tell you guys a funny story of what happened yesterday. Now, these drapes behind me are temporary, right? These got to get changed because I just went through a whole renovation of my room. In fact, the walls you see here are just recently painted, and I'm standing at a desk, right? If you actually watch any of my videos from the past, I never had this kind of setup. So it's changed a lot, and I had to go buy some drapes yesterday. But because we didn't want to go and buy some brand new drapes, we went to a store that was nearby. We went to the thrift store. And inside the thrift store, there's one thing I always love to do, and it's a very bad habit. But I always love to go ahead and look at the books and see what they've got. Okay, so I went ahead and I was looking for one of my favorite authors, and I didn't know this at the time, but I saw it. There's a book from Brian Tracy, right? Maximum Achievement. I've heard a lot of good things about this book, but we'll get to that in a second. As I was looking for the book, before I even picked it up, I saw this black guy standing beside me, and he had maybe 4 or 5 or 6 books just on self development and self help. Just he's holding it there. I don't know why. I just felt like this guy wasn't randomly holding these books. He knew what he was looking for. He gave me that sense. And I'm standing there. I'm like, you know what? I see this book on the shelf. I pick it up. I could just start reading it. I'm like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and flip to a random page. I love to do that in books. I don't do it often, but sometimes I want to flip to a random page, and I kind of go through the entire book like this, right? And I don't know if I'm gonna find it right now, right? But one of the very first pages, there it is. I found it. If you can see here, I read this. It's highlighted by somebody before. Step one: develop desire, intense burning desire. This is the motivational force that enables you to overcome the fear and inertia that holds most people back. The greatest single obstacle to setting and achieving goals is fear of all kinds. To setting goals, it's fear of all kinds. Fear is the reason you sell yourself short and settle for far less than you're capable of. Every decision you make is made on a basis of emotion, either fear or desire. And a stronger emotion will always overcome a weaker emotion. Right? I read that, and that's when I struck up the conversation with this guy. And I'll keep it short, but I asked this guy, "Hey man, I see you got so many books. Quick question for you. I know it's kind of random. Do you ever find that you have a lot of books that you're reading at the same time?" Yeah. Well, I find that I read these books and I get into them for a little bit, and then I kind of put them off to the side and forget about them. I never really get through it. He told me one huge thing. He said, I make sure, and we talked about a lot of things. I mean, the main things he covered was you want to be very intentional with what you're reading. Like, not even necessarily the book you're reading, but when you sit down, you have that intention of learning and focusing and not, being on your phone or anything else. Like, you are there listening and focusing on that book, right? He also talked about implementing what you learn, which is massive. If you're going to learn something, implement it. Don't just read these empty words and forget about it. Do something about it. But one of the biggest things that stuck with me about what he said was that he creates appointments with these books. That's what he said. He's like, he gets physical. He touches them. He plays with them. He writes in them. He does everything. I've got a pen in here, right? He makes this book so personal, and he makes sure that in the morning there's a specific book on self-help that he reads. In the middle of the day, it's another book. At the very end of the day, it's a different kind of book. And he has these appointments where no matter what, he has to be disciplined and be there because he is having a conversation with this author who has thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of experience in something that he could never go ahead and replicate. And I thought about them like, why am I not more disciplined like this guy when it comes to reading? Why not? I go home, I buy the book, of course, because Brian Tracy, and I love Brian Tracy. And I decide this morning, I decided last night about this morning, no devices in the morning. I'm going to wake up, drink my water, make a great breakfast. I'm going to exercise later, not this morning. I decided I want to read. I still not even check my phone really. And I start reading, and what I want to share today is about goal setting. Everyone talks about goal setting and how important it is, and it is. Goal setting is so important, but no one really knows how to do it. And he says here, right, when Brian Tracy talks about setting the right goal, he says, goal setting is an important element of this system. And he's talking about the system that can pretty much create success for anybody. And I'll be explaining it in detail in chapter 5. But well before you do that, you have to do something that very few people ever do. It is absolutely essential to making the system work, and it is this. You have to decide what your life would look like if you made it into a masterpiece. That hit so hard when I read it this morning. I've done it many times, but every single person who ever sets goals needs to know what does the end goal, the masterpiece, the 10 out of 10 life look like. If you don't even know that, then all you'll ever be doing is chasing goals that are futile, that are lacking substance or fulfillment or any kind of meaning. And he says here, right? It's funny because he says here something that I know. I watched a YouTube video of Brian Tracy speaking, and it completely led to a major change in my life. I remember driving on the highway, separate story, and I'm listening to self-help audio. And he says this, and I was working in construction, and he said, if I had this decision to make today, knowing what I know now, what would I do? And I was thinking about quitting my job, and I asked that. I said, knowing what I now know about all the months I've worked at this company, would I have gone back to this company? And I said, honestly, not. And very soon after I quit, and it's the whole reason why I'm here today, right? The 7 ingredients of success, and this is all I want to leave you with. I don't want to teach you how to set goals. I'll talk about that later. In fact, I'm just getting into this book, and it seems to be very similar to No Excuses by Brian Tracy, but also different. And this is a very old one too. Like if you look at it, it says here it's from Fireside Rockefeller Center, and it is from 1995. First Fireside edition 1995. Even if you look at the back, you see his OG Brian Tracy right there. But it says the 7 ingredients of success. So anybody, pause this video, grab a pen and paper. You're about to write down the masterpiece of your life. He says every single, successful life has an element of these 7, right, ingredients. Some people have more of one and less of the other. Everyone has their own. But these are the 7 ingredients that make someone truly successful. Get ready. Number 1, peace of mind. Number 2, health and energy. Number 3, loving relationships. Number 4, financial freedom. Number 5, worthy goals and ideals. Number 6, self-knowledge and self-awareness. And number 7, personal fulfillment. If you wrote those down, understand how each one of those 7 ingredients can play into your ideal life. I want to encourage everybody who's right now watching this video to go and start reading again. I can, obviously I don't want to overhype myself, but I can say for sure I'm pretty hype on reading again. And last night I just started this book, The Teachings of a Stoic. I have a pen in here, the best bookmarker, same in here, pens. But I think I'm going to have my morning book and then my night book, or middle of the day and morning book and then night book, because this is Teachings of a Stoic. Epictetus in his discourse is really talking about, the most happy life you can live is the one where you realize what is in your control and what's not in your control, and you don't get upset about it. So I'm reading these 2 books. I just want to share that with you guys. Figure out what your goals are, and strike up conversations with random guys in the bookstore, and just share with me anything you learned. Today was pretty much just a story time, but I thought it was really cool to share, and I'll catch you guys in the next one soon. Peace.